See, this is me, Boba Fett.
Welcome to the Star Wars Exchanges Book of Boba Fett review show, hosted by Ari and Mike. Join us as we lay honor and respect upon the land of Mos Espa.
I intend to rule with respect.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast for our first ever review of the Book of Boba Fett. I'm real excited to get into this with Mike today. How you going, Mike?
I'm doing superb. I'm excited to finally be talking about the premiere of the Book of Boba Fett.
Hell yeah. And before we say anything, spoiler warning, we're not dancing around any of it here. So if you haven't watched the episode, go watch it, then come back. But yeah, this is your warning. Anyway, this episode, the first episode of the series, is titled Stranger in a Strange Land. And we're going to get into this, but I'm wanting to talk about it because I think that is talking about not only the flashbacks, but also present day, but we'll get into it. But it's directed by the showrunner, Robert Rodriguez. And yeah, so how we're going to structure this podcast, we're going to talk about our overall thoughts, me and Mike. Then we're going to talk about sort of the big, talking points of the episode, like, the flashbacks, all that sort of stuff. And then, touch on a few little details and thoughts, talk about our predictions for the future of the show. And then at the end, we're going to give our overall ratings. So yeah, I'm so excited to get into this. Book of Boba Fett, overall thoughts. Mike, take it away.
So I just want to say, before I get into the overall thoughts, all this, the marketing material and trailers, all that for this series has been so boring and bland that I got tired after the second teaser of just the same lines and dialogue and just different shots. I was a little tired. I was just not excited for respect. Yes, exactly. I was so tired of that line where it just became a meme in the Instagram community because that's all you heard. So, but they've been ramping up a lot of the marketing in like the day before the episode aired. So we saw a lot of cool things. But yeah, we watched the premiere and holy cow, I thought it was very strong. While some people think it gave very little, I believe it gave us like a ton of things to follow along. So like we'll talk about all the stuff in detail, but there's just crumbs in there that seem like are going to stretch over beyond, or I mean like throughout the entire season. So I'm excited for that. There's also a bit of, so with that comes intrigue, and I thought it was sprinkled very nicely in there. And most importantly, though, the star of the show, we're getting tidbits of Boba's reign as crime lord and a bit of his past and how he's come to be the person that he is when he meets Mando in chapter 14 of The Mandalorian. So yeah, I felt I really liked all that. All these moving pieces, and I like that we were in the present, in the past, and I think both are equally important. But side note, the dialogue was near perfect. The chemistry between Tamora Morrison and Ming-Na Wen was super vibrant, as it was in Mandalorian. But I feel like they've just really grown accustomed to each other, and it was just beautiful when they were on screen together. And the action sequences, holy cow, yesterday I was rooting when these action sequences were happening. Again, we'll talk about it in detail soon, but holy cow, I was living for those rooftop action sequences. Give me more of those. But yeah, Ari, we watched it together last night, or it was in the evening for you. It was kind of 2 a.m. for me, but what are your thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett premiere?
Yeah, I liked it. Probably not as much as you. Didn't dislike it, didn't love it, but I liked it. I just thought it was real solid. I know there's been a lot of talk about how slow it felt. I did feel like that. Some of the flashbacks, there was a lot of walking. Mike, you said the dialogue was perfect. I've got one question for you. What dialogue? No, I'm joking. The dialogue was actually very good. However, I don't think we heard someone talk, for a while. It was maybe like the 5-minute mark or something, but which was fine. But anyways, yeah, it did feel slow though. Yeah, there was a lot of walking. It was mainly the flashbacks that I was kind of like, okay, can we get a wriggle on? We kind of get it. However, this is the Filoni way. I know the whole show isn't written by him. It's mostly Favreau. However, Filoni plants seeds, and Favreau, I'm sure, is the same. He's planting seeds here for a big outcome and a big payoff. So you just got to strap yourself in and prepare. But yeah, the first few minutes were just awesome. Like I was immediately strapped in. That Sarlacc sequence, I wish it went for just a little bit longer because it was so cool. But yeah, that was awesome. The flashbacks, to Camino and Geonosis. Absolutely loved it. I really like the direction the show's going in with the flashbacks, because it kind of looks like what's going on in the flashbacks could line up with present day, with like, you know, those quote unquote like marauders who were infiltrating that place, and you know, they could tie in anyways, but it's all just looking really good. And yeah, not only are they going to line up, they're going to answer our questions on Boba's whereabouts for the last 5 odd years. So, which, you know, I think we've all been wondering since we saw him in Mando. But yeah, the present day stuff hasn't really grabbed me. I know we only spent like 15 to 20 minutes with it, but it really didn't do much for me. However, once it has more time to flourish, I think, you know, it's going to do some good things for sure. Kind of weird, Robert Rodriguez saying the trailers were only covering the first 20 minutes of the first episode. It's definitely not the case, unless all the footage we saw in the trailers that we didn't see were cut from it. I don't know. I don't know what
Max Rebo, they would have come on. Max Rebo was a great surprise.
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
Definitely, but there's footage in the trailers that we haven't seen yet. So I'm like, come on, Rodriguez, what's going on there? But you know, I think the one thing that maybe just didn't do the episode the justice it probably deserved was kind of that big hook at the end. You know, for example, at Mando episode 1, it was kind of similar to this. However, then it had that huge hook at the end with Grogu, which we didn't need to see a Grogu, but I just thought something, and it didn't have to be a cameo or anything like that, but just something to really hook us in would have been cool. And I didn't really feel like we got that. However, you know, I still did enjoy the episode for the most part. I think the episode overall was good. When it first finished, I was sort of like, I don't know, but then I went back, rewatched it, and yeah, I really liked it. Overall, I'm pleased with it, and just super excited to see where the next 6 weeks take us. So yeah, let's get into the big talking points of the episode. Let's start with the flashbacks, because that probably took up most of the time of the episode. But yeah, Mike, what did you think of the flashbacks?
So I thought it was a neat way, the whole Bacta thing, how that worked with Boba. I thought that was great. That was a great storytelling device to take this man back to take him back to, because we're experiencing these flashbacks with him, which I like. It's not just like, oh hey, here's a bit of things that like, here's eye candy, right? I mean, it was all eye candy, but it's like, hey, it's not just for no reason. It's actually Boba experiencing all this. So I like that we're experiencing it with him. It's it's a story thing. So I appreciate that. It's not just fan service. So I do appreciate it. And with those flashbacks, we're getting a side story with Boba Fett, and we're getting some character development and kind of fitting in the pieces. However, I will say that I was getting frustrated during my second watch. Last night, I was, hyped to see this, because beforehand, watching the premiere, we sat down and watched pretty much all the Boba Fett episodes in The Mandalorian season 2 to like get ready for this. So that was fun. But for me, I was getting frustrated just because some of the things felt like they could have been told in a comic book. Like, dope, finally they give us Boba Fett coming out of the Sarlacc, right? But it's like some of the things I felt like, I'm like, oh, I feel like this could be done in a comic. I kind of wanted to go back to present day, because I really like seeing that aspect. But once we got to meet the Tuskens and how different they are than our typical Tuskens, which I love that they did that, because it seems like there's more there with the Tuskens just than another ferocious tribe. So I like that. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they're going to go with this. If this pains me, because I'm still conflicted. If next episode they do these flashbacks really well, I'll love where they're going with it. But I really hope by episode 7 this isn't like oh hey, we're gonna tell you how Boba got holding that Gafty stick in Mando. Like, it's like, again, I feel like this, it would be cool to get that in a comic book or something, like see how how Boba got to meet Mando in the Mandalorian, like read the comic. I feel like that it could be done in a comic, but we'll see. Again, I can change my opinion just to see how things lay out. But for me, again, felt like I could have been seeing that in a comic book or something, or even in a book. But I will say, I really like that hook with Boba and that kid. Like, that was really cool. So I dug that stuff. So yeah, I'm very open to more flashbacks, and obviously we'll get them. But yeah, literally when Boba, I know how you were talking about like having a hook at the end of the episode, but literally when Boba drank, when he was finally given water, I thought first of all I thought that was so clever. The Tusken didn't even look at him, just gave him the jug to drink or whatever that's pod to drink water. I thought that was great, and it literally felt like me. I'm like, oh, I want more. It's like you're gonna have to wait till next week. So I like that. That was very clever. But yeah, for me, I vibe with the flashbacks. I kind of wanted to go to more. I thought more of the intriguing stuff was in the present day, but I still like the flashbacks a lot.
Yeah, look, the flashbacks were great. At the start, I absolutely loved what they were doing. Seeing Camino, seeing Geonosis, him crawling out of the Sarlacc, it was awesome. But yeah, I do agree that at the end, like, yeah, it was frustrating. It was like, can we go on? And I'm kind of confused what they're going to do. Are we going to see all 7 episodes? Boba just goes, all right, time to go to the back to tank, just so that the viewers can see some flashbacks. Like, I don't know. Also, can I just say it was super cool at the start when Boba goes to Fennec. Oh, I'm still having the nightmares or whatever. I just thought like, oh, that's so sweet that Boba tells Fennec about his dreams. I just thought that
They're
was
a married
cool.
couple. They're a married couple.
Mate, who knows? But yeah, like it's a cool storytelling device. It reminds me a lot of Arrow, the show that I used to watch back in the day. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if the flashbacks do go throughout all 7 episodes, or like if it's just, you know, maybe the 1 to 3 or something like that. Because I'm just curious how long it's going to take. Is he going to be with the Tuskens for 5 years, like, and then all of a sudden decides, okay, time to get the armor back? Like, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But with the Sarlacc, I kind of thought it was cool how, I know in Legends he has this big heroic thing where he just like shoots out of the Sarlacc, and you know, it's all great. But this, it was much more gritty. He like really had to, even though we didn't get to see much, but he like literally crawled his way and dug his way out of it, which I just thought was ace. But
I'm with you.
yeah, it's cool.
I like
It's more grit. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what's going to come of Boba seeing that place getting robbed. Was that Toshi Station that we've seen in the trailers? Not sure, but yeah. And now that Boba's killed the beast, is that like they're officially on good terms? Like, I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
That's interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to touch upon the Tashi station and stuff like that, because I love I very much love how consistent this episode is, or the way it's written. It's like Boba, or I think it happened earlier on in the episode. Fennec was like, or the droid was like, shall we torture them and make an example of these Gamorrean guards? And Boba was like, I don't torture people. That's not my thing.
Yeah.
And I noticed that when he's watching these marauders at this Tashi station doing whatever they were doing, once they start beating the man senselessly, he turns away, because I was like, oh shoot, like there's just a new level of understanding to Boba Fett that we as fans are like taking in, because we're seeing, as you were mentioning about the Sarlacc pit, this man bursts out of the mouth of the Sarlacc pit. And it's like, no, actually, there's a lot more grit there. And I don't like, what was the reason? So, I'm with you. I probably would have wanted to see more of the Sarlacc pit stuff, just to see, it's like, what was the reason for him taking, climbing through the dirt rather than like just straight out of the mouth. But, what was going on there? But like, I just love this really up close look at the character. And, talking about the Tusken thing, I love that he just didn't run away like he was telling the Rodian. This man came back holding his own chains, coming back, and was like, yeah, we defeated that guy. So there's just a different level of Boba Fett than what's been alluded to in the comics and ODU content. So I really love this Boba Fett, that there's actually a person under the helmet. And kudos to George Lucas to demystifying him in Attack of the Clones and Clone Wars, for expanding so much on his character. And yeah, I literally love this take on Boba.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And something to add to what you're saying, I think, is it's interesting to see it's just, there's no question he's changed. We saw in Mandalorian he's kind of changed with honoring his deal with Din and everything. But in this, if he really wanted to escape, he could have. He had 2 chances to kill that kid and didn't take either of them. So I mean, obviously it's pretty brutal to kill a kid, but if he really was desperate enough to get out of there, he could have. Same with the Rodian, when he undid his own shackles or whatever. he offered the Rodian if they wanted theirs undone as well. He could have just run away, but yeah, I don't know. Like it's just simple that Boba has fundamentally changed, and I hope we see kind of why. Like I know they're sort of alluding to it in a lot of different things, but I'm like, I really want to know what is it in him that has changed him from the Boba we see in the comics, who's just ruthless, who wants to go out, kill people, get his money, go home, and now the guy who seems to have a lot of honor and pride. And he even says at one stage, I'm not being carried around the streets like some useless noble. It's like, he's a crime lord, but he still wants to do good, even though the title kind of implies, some very negative connotations. He seems to still want to, like, I don't even know, just be a good guy, I guess. And I think it's going to be super interesting to see like why that is.
Yeah, no, really. And it was cool when they were having that fight sequence when they're attacked by those guys in the shields. I thought very well executed sequence, and I saw people on Instagram complaining, why didn't he just fly away? It's like, hello, that's not Boba's character to just fly away. And plus he's there with Fennec. And someone complains about like like him just not flying away, or like just being like immediately firing like a rocket at these people. And it's like, guys, if you just take a moment to look at like why he does these things, or once he's attacked, now he's going to use that like that more brutal side of him. So he's like, I don't care, I'm gonna fire at them. He doesn't know like how capable that shield is. Now all shields are like invincible, some are very weak. So it's like, oh look, a little foot gang here, I can easily blast them. And it's like, no, I can't do that with a rocket. So love that. And immediately after, like they can we talk about how cool that battle was though?
Yeah,
like this man was being tortured, and he was like still putting up a really good fight. Fennec as well. Like the choreography has improved, because I know this is pretty much the same team from The Mandalorian. Like this is just taken to a new level. It's like, wow, we were really getting started in Mandalorian, even though that it feels like the flagship show of with the main course of all the Disney Plus Star Wars shows. But like, holy cow, it just, the choreography improved, and also the visuals in here. But immediately after they're attacked, Boba fires a rocket straight up at a dude, just because it's like, oh, now you've gotten Boba very upset. So yeah, it's like, it's more about like, I think they're doing something cool with his character, how you're saying like, oh, is he a good guy? Is he still in the morally gray area, but still leaning more towards like the bad side? It's like, I'm really invested to see what character work they're gonna do in the past and in the present.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something that I was talking to you a bit about last night was, I think potentially him being bossed around by a kid, mugged by Jawas, being hit into a sarlacc by a blind man. I feel like maybe that has like diminished his pride and made him think that, I don't know, maybe he's like not worthy of his armor or whatever it is. So maybe that's why he's going to spend 5 years with the Tuskens, to maybe like regain his pride or something like that. Because to me, that is the biggest mystery right now, is like, why did it take him 5 years to get off Tatooine? Because when we see him in the Marshal, he seems to still be in his Tusken sort of outfit. So is he really going to spend 5 years with them? And if he does, then maybe that's what's given him all this, newfound perspective. But I think that would be super cool to see.
I think that's some great theories you have there. And I remember people were like, well, why hasn't he gotten his armor back? And again, it's like, let's take a minute, pause and think. That's TV is now just like about eye candy and throwing things at you. Like, stop and think. In the tragedy of The Mandalorian, Boba says, oh, you got that armor from Cobb Vanth and it belongs to me. Well, it's like, this man literally came halfway across the galaxy to reclaim his armor now, but he stood upon watching Cobb Vanth have it. Why didn't he intervene? And my theory has always been, whoa, but there's more layers to Boba than we once thought. In that cool comic where he like blasts people and stuff, there's more to him. Could you believe that? Yeah. So it's like, I feel like Boba, like, he like spectated and saw that the armor meant something and brought stability and order to that town. Definitely. So it's like, yeah, you know what? It's probably in better hands than it would be with me right now. I would probably go back to the thing I was good at, So it's like, I feel like he's just gonna go through this like cool character arc in this show. Well, at least in the flashback stuff. So yeah, I'm straight there with you. We're on the same page about Boba and seeing where his character goes. So heck yeah, and I hope people listening can also vibe with that, because again, if we want cool Boba Fett action, jetpack action, go read War of the Bounty Hunters, go read his comics. That's all cool and stuff. But it's like we're really getting to know the man underneath the helmet. So I'm ready for episode 2. I'm ready to, but I'm here for more Boba Fett discussion first.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I completely agree about the Cobb Vanth thing. I'd almost be certain that he saw that the armor is in good hands right now. I don't need it. I'm off on my own personal journey. Let the armor do some good or whatever. Why he's come to that realization, we'll find out. But I think that's definitely would be a cool, explanation for it. But yeah, definitely. So moving on from sort of Boba and the flashbacks and stuff, I want to talk about the Tusken Raiders real quick, because they look quite different to how we're used to them. They're not in their like traditional sort of battle attire that we see in A New Hope and Attack of the Clones and stuff. They've kind of got some drip, like they're looking pretty cool. But yeah, my biggest question is, are we going to further explore Tusken Raider life? Like, I know in Mandalorian, in the Marshal, they did quite a bit. Are these flashbacks going to give us like total Tusken Raider perspective or something? And yeah, is Boba going to pretty much become one? Like, we can't just touch on that, but yeah, what do you think of this?
I think that's, well, I certainly, it's interesting because again, this man didn't run away, and then it just seemed he was being, kind of almost accepted into their ways, and it was just like, I'm not even gonna look at you, but here's the water. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening with Boba. I don't know if I'd want that, but it makes the most sense to where we see him in Mandalorian, and it's like, yeah, what were you doing for 5 years? So it's, yeah, he probably finds a purpose here and stuff, which is quite interesting. But I love the way they looked. These look, rather than your typical Tuscans, these look like they looked almost like, I would even call the leader, I would call him like the Archbishop or something like that, like something rad. Like he just looks so drippy and cool. I loved his outfit. I love his look and all his I love that Boba was paired up with some kid. Like that was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the whole, it was more cultish than your typical Tuscans. But yeah, I want first of all, I wonder what they want with them, if it's just work and finding water, or what's the long-term goal. And yeah, I don't, other than that, I don't think I have anything to offer, just because it just seems like the logical point being that Boba's just going to be with them until the time, or like being adopted into their ways and doing their stuff. So yeah, I feel like his character arc will be with the Tuscans.
Yeah, I would love to see Bo become a part of it, but overall, just exploring more of the Tusken Raider life. I don't really want them to do it for the next 6 episodes in every single flashback, but
right,
maybe for episode 2 and 3, like give us, like, we've got a lot of Tusken Raider perspective, but give us more, because honestly, I find it super interesting. Just kind of like getting shown through the eyes of people who we look at as, complete villains, antagonists, the guys that attacked Luke in A New Hope, seeing like what's up with that,
right.
And we've already got a lot in Mandalorian, but I'm honestly down for more. But yeah, so shifting over to the present day now, I said, for me personally, it hasn't really done a lot for me. We've only been in the present day for like 15 to 20 minutes, but for me, outside of that interaction with the mayor's major domo, I was sort of like, like the action sequence was cool, but yeah, overall just didn't really get pulled by the present day story. But what do you think, Mike?
Like I said, I love the present day story. I just rewatched the second episode, or the episode, for a second time, and yeah, I just love, I love the way this man, okay, it just felt like very King style. Like, okay, he dresses up, Lord Fett dresses up. By the way, cinematography in this 100, it's just so much better than I think what the cinematography in Mandalorian season 2 was pretty good. But holy cow, they had some great shots in in this episode that I just want to say forever. And the way it was edited as well. Like I'm thinking about the way that, oh man, the way they had Boba up there in T-pose, and then the droids were just assembling his armor on him and putting it on. That was great, and the music was perfection. But I don't know. I like the stuff with the people coming up with Boba and Fennec and being like, oh, welcome, and just more of like um this kind gesture, I guess, of him being the overseer of the land, if you will. But I did like all that stuff. And same with, oh man, when we went into that cantina, that was great. But yeah, I don't know. I really like the present stuff because it just brought a lot of intrigue, and it felt like the past stuff was like, okay, cool, we're gonna do things with Boba Fett's character and stuff. But like the stuff that was really interesting me into this story was really the crime aspect. So it's like, who are these? What's this foot gang? I like how Boba was like, Fennec alive, because he needs answers. And by the way, beautiful moment when Boba was like, get me to the back of the pod, and they drag him away. Oh my god, it was, I don't know what it was, but it just made me feel like, wow, Star Wars can do something as rad as this. Like how cool. And these muscly pig dudes like just drag him away. Like how freaking cool is that? Only Star Wars. But
Only Star Wars.
I seriously loved all that. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of going on with the present that we're just gonna like, throughout the next episodes, we're just gonna unravel. To me, that's more interesting than being with Tusken Raiders for like 7 episodes.
Yeah.
But I really want to get into like what's going on with the crime now that there's a power vacuum with not only Jabba, or not only what's his name? Who did Boba Fett kill? Bib Fortuna. I always forget his name.
Yeah.
Now that Bib Fortuna's gone, but now that Jabba's gone, like let's see. As Fennec said, they were used to seeing the Hutts parade around here with their power, and now they're gone. What's going on? So I love that dramatic element and the aftermath feel. So yeah, I'm a lot more. Mos Espa is a lot more expansive than what we've seen in the films. A big city. I want to meet this Ithorian mayor guy. Like I'm just in it. I'm loving all this. So sorry if I sound repetitious, by the way. I just love all of the intrigue that has been presented to us with all these crime lords and political leaders. How well does that mix? So give me all of it in episode 2, and we better get an episode 2 because I really thought we're gonna get it in this episode, which that's probably my only complaint is like, where's all that stuff? But solid start.
Yep. Nah, definitely. Like the as much as it didn't pull me, there was definitely cool stuff. And I mean, of course, we can't forget to mention cameo of the week, Max Rebo, and potentially figuring down as well. So that was definitely a fun little surprise. But yeah, no, like I think the thing that was most interesting to me was probably the interaction with the Mayor's Major Domo, sort of just like firstly, that guy's just cool. Like I don't know what it was, but I was like, damn, this guy is like, I don't know, he's like so passive aggressive, but like so like polite. It was just a funny interaction. And on rewatch, I was like, I wonder who that actor is, because that was just a cool like 3 or 4 minutes. But
that was
cool. I think it also shows that potentially Boba just has no idea what he's doing. Like I think he's way out of his depth. And like I said at the beginning, the title Stranger in a Strange Land or whatever it is, I think people would immediately just assume that that's him with the Tuskens. But I think that actually is talking as well about him being a crime lord, because he's a bounty hunter. Like bounty hunting and being a crime lord is pretty different. Like, so I think he is sort of out of his depth here. And, the mayor, I kind of hope the mayor isn't like the overarching villain of the show. Just because I think, I don't know, that premise doesn't really interest me that much. However, if that turns out being the case, I'm sure they'll do it well. But yeah, I think it's just going to be interesting to see like the consequences to his sort of ignorance. And almost like Fennec's sort of trying to tell him, like, you've got to be carried around on the streets. People have to, really see you as an icon and whatnot. But then instead, he's just walking around on the street, gets attacked and gets beaten up. And even though he held his own, that's got to do something to his reputation. We know the Fets, they're all about their reputation, all this stuff. So that's not only going to probably personally hurt him, people in Mos Espa are going to be, well, that crime lord. He just got, he just got beaten up on the street. Like, how are
Right.
we meant to bow down to him or anything? But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, that's actually a great tidbit. I didn't think about this too deeply, but I always wondered how come someone like Boba Fett didn't just come in and kill Jabba the Hutt? But it's
Yeah.
because of Jabba's power and influence and knowing that there would be repercussions if he was killed. So it's like, wow, Boba Fett just comes in and Bib Fortuna, it's like, how come he didn't do that with Jabba? And it's because there's that web of just intricate fallout that can happen. So so he does that with Bib Fortuna, but they're just, people are like, all right, cool, we'll just move on to the next leader now. So I thought that was interesting, and how you're saying about look at what does to his reputation about being attacked. I think that's great. That's the intrigue that I'm talking about. It's like, ooh, what's the repercussion of this? What's the consequence? So I really hope, just because how consistent episode 1 was with little mentions here and there, like I brought up that water example, I hope we get to see some, the repercussions of that. How you're saying, it's like this man was attacked in broad daylight. That didn't happen to Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, heck yeah, I think that's a really great point.
Yeah. Also, something else I'd be interested to get your thoughts on is, I kind of felt like when he was attacked, I feel like the Sarlacc is still having effects on him, and that's why he's just continued. Like at the start of the episode, like why was he in the Bacta? I think it's simply just because he's the recovery from being swallowed by the Sarlacc, I think is a long-term ongoing thing, because like no one attacked him at the start. I think he was just sitting in the sitting in the Bacta tub or whatever for the sake of it, because his body has been, I don't know, so dismantled almost. So I sort of felt like maybe his fitness levels are not fitness, but just his health is so low that like he's just going to constantly need that, even if he's not getting attacked. And it was interesting. Another quote from him, he said, "I walk on my own 2 feet." I could be looking way too close into this, but I almost feel like the reason he didn't want to be carried around is to prove that he can still like just walk around, like, because he might be that like, physically affected still by the Sarlacc. So maybe that's why he wanted that. But also, I don't know what it is. I just feel like he's a lot weaker, which is weird to say when you see the bloke jump on a big beast and strangle it and kill it. Like he's obviously not weak, but do you think like that Sarlacc swallowing him is going to have like some real long-term repercussions, and maybe halfway through a big fight during the series he'll have to like pull away because exhaustion or whatever it is? Like, what do you think of this?
Definitely. I think I've thought about that, about the Sarlacc stuff, at least, just because it's like, well, how come this man didn't appear, halfway through Return of the Jedi and be like, I'm back? Why, why didn't he appear?
Exactly.
So it's like, of course there's going to be some type of effect that the Sarlacc had on him, and of course it was, probably how acidic it is in there or whatnot. So yeah, it was already trying to digest him, and the stormtrooper were sitting there just waiting to get digested. So yeah, heck yeah. Imagine taking a fry out of your stomach. Imagine how chewed up and messed up that would be. So it's like, you know what? I'll give it to Boba. So I love that. I'm telling you, I love that that back to tank storytelling device, and that it was just, I don't know, like, it's definitely had an effect on him. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like they're explaining why, like, we haven't seen Boba in so long. It's like, yeah, this literally caused him to go on a different life-changing career path. So it's like, cool. All right, give me that. So, and I love that they're holding up to it with, him holding up his own, as we said, but still suffering a bit from the battle and being like, I need to get back to that Bacta. So heck yeah, I think that's a great thing to cover.
Yeah. And also, even if it's like not the case, I think from a storytelling perspective, they're probably like, yeah, just throw him in the Bacta. We need to do some flashbacks or whatever.
Yeah,
is.
no,
So,
for sure. They were like, how do we do flashbacks? And I did love the opening of the episode and how, like, it just paid homage to Boba in Attack of the Clones. That was really cool. And seeing Camino, like, as we were saying, it was just eye candy for us, this big Star Wars fans and stuff like that. It was just eye candy, but it just felt like a nice tribute to Boba Fett, the character. And then we get we didn't actually see him in Jabba's palace, like in Return of the Jedi time. But we see the familiar hallway, the familiar palace, and then we see the new throne, and then we see him in Bacta. And I'm like, that is so cool.
Also, I do wonder, how did that stormtrooper get in the Sarlacc? I think we need a one-shot comic on that.
Listen, I think I was talking about this last night because we're little nerds like that. We talk about little things like this. Why was a stormtrooper there? in a Star Wars series, no, it was in the Darth Vader 2015 series, comic series, that is. There's a moment where Vader and a couple stormtroopers visit Jabba for a business deal. You can read the comic if you want. I won't go into spoiler details, but he visits him for a business deal to celebrate. After they discuss the details, Jabba decides to take Vader and his forces out to the Dune Sea to celebrate. And I'm pretty sure they passed the Sarlacc. But anyway, it's cool that Jabba took Vader out there with stormtroopers, out there. So it's like, you know what? I could take it that Vader got upset with them, even though we didn't see in the comic. Vader got upset with one of them and just flung them over.
I reckon they were just having a party, and Vader was like, you know what, F it, I'm just gonna throw one in for fun.
Exactly. He's like, I wonder what that Sarlacc does. Is it true about the Jabba would have told him about the Sarlacc? He's like, let's test that out, and flung him over.
Yeah,
that's a fan theory here, but yeah, I vibe with that. But also, it could be a nod to the Battlefront players that would drop. Imagine,
yeah,
imagine if it's a nod to the Battlefront players of all the people jumping up in there. So
yeah,
heck yeah, I like it.
Well, you heard it here first. Vader and Jabba were having a party, and that's how the stormtrooper ended up in the Sarlacc. But
Canon.
Yeah. So something else I was wondering about was, do you think Boba and Fennec getting attacked on the street was related to that incident with the mayor's major domo? And him not giving him the payment? I can't remember what they were referring it to as, but is that because Boba refused to give him the payment or something?
What was it? I think they called it a tribute.
Yeah,
what was it? Tribute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Definitely, everything else was like briefly brushed over. Like, it was cool. We got some history. Boba was like, I used to work for that guy, and it was a Trandoshan. It's like, that's cool. And I love the Tamora Morrison. The way he delivers the lines is just so casual, being like, even though he said that in a complimentary way, still sounded threatening. And it was like, just because it's a Trandoshan. But
yeah,
once we got to this delegate or whatever, it's like, oh shoot, like what's going on here? Didn't bring any tribute. And I love that like total awkward scene. And then Boba was like, I'm confused. And then Fennec was like, he didn't bring a tribute. He wants us to give him a tribute.
Yeah.
Like
he's like, I'm the crime lord.
Yeah, he's like, right. So yeah, I love that little scene. While it was humorous, I think there's actually it's like a thread for something that's to come. So I'm like I said, bro, there's a lot of intrigue in this first episode that I'm just like there's like little breadcrumbs, if you will, that are like, oh shoot, that's gonna lead to something.
They're Filoni seeds.
Sure. Dave Filoni seeds, or I will give credit to Jon Favreau because he's the one that wrote it, but he, Dave Filoni, though, we give credit to Dave Filoni as well. But I'm excited. Oh man, I'm talking about this makes me want to rewatch this again. You know what, Ari? Let's rewatch it again tonight on definitely on Discord. Let's do that.
Yeah. Also, there was a lot of discussion on Twitter about the man, who it possibly is. We know we've seen that Ithorian in the trailers. Do you think that's the mayor?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure there's a scene where we see this Twi'lek delegate next to the mayor. I think I'm pretty sure there's a shot because that's where I recognized him from. So
yeah, I'd say it's most likely. However, small chance could be someone else. We'll see. But a few little random things I just wanted to say was I don't know if you felt this, but when we first saw Boba and the Rodian tied up, I remember. I said out loud, I was like, oh, no way. Because in the background, I just saw this sort of like pink looking figure. And I was like, are we getting a frog lady origin story right now?
Oh
like I
gosh.
genuinely thought it was frog lady. And it happened twice as well with the beast as well, which actually we should touch on because we haven't talked about it that much. But the beast, when the Rodian started like digging it up, I was like, no way. It's the Zillow beast. Like I genuinely thought
gosh.
that. And then I was like, how did it get to Tatooine? Palpatine must have just buried it here. Like,
Oh,
I don't
no.
even know.
That's crazy. Well, you know what? Funny thing about the Rodian, I got, of course, because of the little nerd I am, I was like, oh shoot, it's the Rodian from Solo, but obviously it's not. However, I do appreciate that it's not like some bland Rodian, color scheme from A New Hope or Return of the Jedi. Like it was actually bright and noticeable. So I love that they were working with colors there. So great thing on the Rodian. But yeah, let's talk about that sand thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was up with that? I was expecting, I was like, oh no, did we stumble upon another crate dragon? Which I was like,
Yeah.
all right, that's kind of redundant. But it would turn out to be some weird mythical looking beast, which I was like, doesn't look like Star Wars, but I'll take it. If that's even a thing. But I still very much like was like, oh cool, like it was cool. And seeing Boba swinging around like Batman on the dang thing when he whips the chains on the creature, I was all in. I was like, yeah, this is really cool. But yeah, I don't even know what that was. If this is a new creature, if this is a nod to something rare in Legends, don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, I thought Zillow Beast, Crate Dragon, what are we seeing here? Then it was like, I don't know, some sort of General Grievous looking thing. I don't even know.
You know what? When the Rhodians, came across that, I thought it was going to be some artifact that was going to tie into something with present day. So something going on with the crime families or something that was valuable. And I was like, oh, cool. We're getting some cool things up in here in the flashbacks. But turned out to be, anyways, it just turned out to be a real cool moment that, maybe it was just Boba's little test or something to get into this tribe of Tusken Raiders.
Yeah. I mean, it's valuable to the Tuskens, I guess. So
yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems to be. But yeah, also something else. In the trailers, when we saw Mos Espa as like the city, everyone was like, oh, it's Jeddah, or I wonder what planet this is. I was like, from the moment we saw it, I was like, yeah, it's Tatooine. It's obviously Tatooine.
Yeah.
And then of course it was. I don't know. I'm not trying to flex, but I was like, that is so definitely Tatooine. I don't know how anyone thought otherwise, but yeah.
I didn't. I was like, I'll take it as Tatooine just because it was so cool in Mandalorian season 2, the Marshal, we saw how expansive Tatooine was.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. But when we still got confirmation that it was Tatooine, I was like, oh, thank God. They didn't pull Force Awakens where it's like all this time we're like, oh, that's definitely Tatooine, and then it turned out to be some different planet, Jakku, and it was like, bruh. And that led into theories that then I fell into that hole where I was like, it's not, listen, Jabba the Hutt is gone. I feel like a new Hutt came in and renamed the planet, so it's not Tatooine anymore, it's Jakku. But it's like they were just straight up and they're like, no, this Tatooine. I love that. And yeah, like I said, I love that this show is not as bland as those teasers and posters where like there's vibrancy here. It's very much alive.
No, definitely. And I'm glad the trailers were bland and boring, because now we're saving all the substance and the cool stuff for actually enjoying the show.
Exactly. And you know what? I will say, I'm telling you, I just loved seeing all that stuff. And I had because of how bland the marketing material was, my expectations were so low for this that I was like, I had to watch some stuff from Mandalorian to get excited. And I was like, all right, I'm in. And I was like kind of sort of maybe blown away by the premiere. I was just like loving every minute of it.
Also, just some random things I just want to mention. When Boba Fett says no hard feelings, mate, I don't know, I just really appreciated a Star Wars character finally saying the word mate. And maybe Tamura just said it because he felt like it. But speaking of Tamura, actually, can I just say this man is 60 years old and he is the lead in one of the biggest shows in the world right now. Like, that is unreal. This guy, who would have thought, from playing Django in 2002, now 20 years odd later, he's playing Boba Fett in his own show. Like he did an incredible job. Like, he was the star of the show. Ming-Na Wen did awesome as well, but he was just incredible.
He literally stole the show. And I mean, listen, as you said, I remember earlier this week, I put a tweet out that was like, he has almost been in Star Wars for 25 years now. And it's like, and now he's leading his own show. He's gone from doing Attack of the Clones to then doing Revenge of the Sith, then getting some credits in games here and there as a voice actor. And then I remember seeing him pop up in Aquaman and being like, oh, he's an actor. Like it wasn't just some random cast in Star Wars, and he's an actor. Okay, cool. All right. And then they bring him back for Mando, and then here he is with his own series, and he literally blew it out of the water. I was like,
oh yeah,
everything that he said came off so naturally. All the jokes. I'm just like, Tamora Morrison, like this man just not only deserves it, but he just proves as to why he deserves it. So all bow to Lord Morrison. I will say that. Bow down to Lord Morrison.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, other random things. Seeing that Star Tours droid in live action was cool. We've seen it in Rebels before, but I was like, damn, cool. And I think it was playing like the dealer in a poker game. At least that's how it looked in the concept art. I didn't really have a close look in the actual show, but I was like, nice. That's a good use of the functions of that droid. But
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Also, as we said, Max Rebo, awesome. And also that sort of like remix of the Cantina song as well. I don't know, I was vibing with it. I thought it was cool.
Oh, that was great. They lost their gigs with the closing of Jabba the Hutt's palace, or at least that vibrant aspect of it. And guess what? They found new jobs. So you know what?
Good on
all
them.
Credit to Max Rebo. The last time he appeared in a story was probably, I think, Lost Stars, where there's like a nod to him and his cool circular musical instrument, and now he's back. So all hail the king, Max Rebo.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, yeah, let's talk about what is next for the Book of Boba. What is this all set up? Specifically, let's talk about episode 2. What are we thinking we're going to see in this second episode?
Definitely, like I said, the ending scene where Boba just takes the pot of water and drinks it. I was like, man, y'all really left me thirsting for more. So I want what I think is gonna happen, and what I want is we're gonna finally meet that mayor dude. We're gonna meet him, and we're gonna talk to him, and we're gonna see what's going on with I guess like the crime aspect of Mos Espa and its surrounding neighborhoods and whatnot, or towns, or whatever you want to call them. But I'm excited for that type of stuff. Flashback stuff. I really listen. I guess the route that we could say that's going on with the Tusken Raiders is like, oh, Bob, they're gonna help develop Boba's character and stuff like that. And I really want that, and I appreciate that. But as we said earlier, I hope we get some real progress with this flashback story, or they don't take 7 episodes explaining how he got to that point in Mando. So I really hope that there's something interesting. There's another layer of intrigue, I will say, in that in the flashback sequences. So I in terms of present day, give me more Fennec and Boba. Like, give me more I'm telling you, man, and everyone listening, that choreography was superb. Usually I will say in like Mandalorian, it just felt like sometimes they were just like walking in these like 2-dimensional sets sometimes, where there was just like, oh, like we built like a little set, like you guys are gonna run down this hallway shooting, and it's like, okay, cool. But no, like you actually got, like, they were out in the desert, you got some rooftop action, you got some cool swings, those shields were awesome. Big credit to the choreography team, and I'm sure Robert Rodriguez, he's the action guy, so I'm pretty sure he had a hand in all that. But seriously, what a step up in the choreography of fight sequences, and I definitely want more of that. I want I really hope that we get to see more of the present day stuff with Boba and what's going on there. What's crazy is I still, even with this episode, I really don't have expectations all that much for the series. So anything goes. But Ari, how are you feeling? Are you feeling the same? Do you have things that you're looking forward to? What's going on?
Yeah, I definitely feel the same. Like, I just honestly don't have many expectations. Like, since there wasn't like that big hook that I'm kind of talking about, I'm sort of like, well, anything can happen. But I really do hope, we have more focus on the present day stuff, because The flashbacks, even though they were kind of slow, I'm kind of like, okay, I've picked up on that vibe. The present day stuff, I'm like, come on, let's see what's happening here. So would really love to see that. Yeah, an introduction to the mayor would be great, and I think we'll get that in episode 2. But yeah, overall, I'm just keen as.
Well, we do have some, what we're doing. I know it's very different for the podcast, but we're doing, for the review shows, we're doing questions. So you're probably wondering, how could I submit a question? Well, you could either DM Ari at Star Wars _exchange. That's it. You can DM him and tell him it's a question for the podcast, or you can DM me all _Star Wars and tell me that it's for the podcast. But we have 2 questions here that we want to answer really quick and give our take, because I think it'd be cool if we, answer some of the questions that y'all have, and we could discuss as a community. So
Sure.
Ari, we have from our friend Shane. He asks, did the Max Rebo band and Figuran, how do you say that name?
Figure and Dan.
Figure and Dan band combined into one?
I hope so, honestly. Well, that's what I was saying. I was like, see, this is the thing though. If they have combined into one, where are the other modal nodes or whatever they're called? Because we only saw one of them. But I mean, I don't know. I hope so. It'll be cool.
Oh, for sure. All right, cool. Thank you, Shane. For me, Shane, I think I think that would be really cool that they just combine forces. Like, they were the 2 leading artists in Mos Espa, and they're like, you know what? It's a changed era, it's a changed time. Why don't we be the bright spot in the galaxy?
Yeah.
Besides the New Republic not doing anything out here in the Outer Rim. You and I, let's go. Even though most of your bandmates have died or passed on, you and I, I'm the Max Rebo, and you're that one guy from that one band. Let's join forces. And apparently John Williams wrote that song.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, apparently he wrote it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, what I will say, it's like the Avengers of Star Wars. All our heroes, our musical heroes from the Star Wars universe teaming up together for one ultimate band. So
yes,
good question, Shane.
Like this podcast. But what? Sam Witwer. Actually, I was gonna make making a fact for this. Sam Witwer voiced the Rodian, which I think is so cool. It's like, you love to see it. You love to see it. All right. Our next question comes from user Mahit _69, and they ask, why do you think Boba went back to the Tusken camp after killing the creature when he could have escaped? So we touched on a bit on this, but Ari, what's your take on this?
Well, I mean, I just think by the reaction of the youngling, as he says, it was clearly important. And then he probably just quickly identified, all right, this is going to get me into the Tuskens. And he probably would have had to wander like 3 or 4 days to get to Mos Espa or, Mos Eisley or wherever. So he was probably like, well, I'll go back to the Tusken camp. They'll all love me for contributing to killing this beast. And, I'll have some water and freshen up probably. He probably just realized that was going to be his quote unquote in
right
with the Tuskens. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm exactly there right with Ari. I think that it's just he's realizing that there's just a different path for him. So it's like, I'm telling you, he carried his own chains back, and even the little Tusken Raider didn't even quite, didn't have his stick probing him or anything. Just came back, and the little kid came back excited that he had the head of the beast, and it was like a cool. It looked like an initiation process. So and it probably was initiation for Boba too, stepping into being initiated into a new path of life. So good on Boba. I love little things like that. It's like, wow, it's not this just cool gunslinger that we all know and kind of love in Boba Fett, this cool bounty hunter mercenary. It's like there's just more to him, and I'm glad that he finally has a series, and we're finally getting to know who is under that helmet. If we're going to talk about ratings, I'm giving this episode 8.5 out of 10. Gave me everything I was not expecting. So for me, I seriously loved what they did, what they're doing with the character of Boba Fett. Never liked the guy until Mandalorian, and still was like skeptical about him getting his own show. Now that we got it, I'm all in. I'm on the Boba Fett hype train. I'm on the Boba Fett heist train. I'm a part of all that. So this episode is going to get a stamp of 8.5 for me. out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it a 7 just because I think there's a lot of room for improvement. However, if the rest of the series comes out and then I go back and watch it and I'm like, oh wow, how good was that first episode? Set it all up. Maybe it'll change. But as of now, I give it a 7. Didn't dislike it, didn't love it. It was just solid.
That's still a good score. Yeah. So that just wraps up our review of the Book of Boba Fett for episode 1. If you haven't already, please drop a like, comment, rating, or review, depending on how you're listening, and subscribe or follow the channel on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else podcasts are available. Also, be sure to keep up with us on our socials. As I said, ask us questions, DM us the questions. If you have a question for episode 2, make sure to DM it, and you could possibly have your question answered on the show by Ari and I, Mike, or any guest that we have on. And we will have guests, right, Ari?
Yep. And in fact, next week, we're hoping to have a guest on for the next 6 Boba Fett reviews. And we've already got our one for next week. I might announce it on Instagram during the week. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
And Ari, where can people follow you for this mind-blowing announcement?
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram at StarWars_exchange, as Mike said earlier, and Twitter at the SW Exchange. But my main go is Instagram if you're looking for me. Mike, where can people find you?
Y'all can find me at all_Star Wars and on Twitter at all_Star Wars, but mainly I'm on Instagram. I've decided that I'm not going to be doing a written review of Book of Boba Fett. I kind of did some for Bad Batch, but I just wasn't consistent. And my strength is podcasting. I do my writing, but I feel like I'm able to express more of my thoughts in detail in conversations. And Ari is a great person to talk to. So it's like, no, I'll just save my thoughts for the show. So exclusively here, you get to hear my thoughts. So if you're on Instagram and you came to listen to me, stay tuned to next week and stay tuned to the rest of the series, because I'm just not going to be doing written reviews. So if you want my thoughts, I'll briefly go through them on my Instagram story, but I'm going to come in here and talk in the cantina with Ari here. So please make sure to subscribe to the podcast if you want more. Like, it's so easy. Subscribe it on Apple or on Spotify. And if you want, pull it up on your YouTube, but for real, follow us on the podcast stuff. And that does it for episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett review. We'll see you next time. As always, thanks for listening, and may the Bacta be with you.
See you, everyone.